Maybe. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Two Old Goats. Well, right now it's just one old goat. The other one is going to join us in progress. But if you look next to me, the beautiful soul next to me, my good friend who, I think we've known each other for like close to 10 years now.
It's been probably a decade-ish, I would say.
Yeah, so we're
I always joke with people that I'm going to write the worst memoir of all time one day because I have no sense of like dates or venue. I can't tell you where we met. I can't tell you why we met. I just know that we've met. Like that's where I'm at.
Yeah. It's like a object permanence. It's just,
Exactly.
But yeah, this is Ryan Niemiller, finalist on America's Got Talent, very funny comedian, special on Tubi TV right now, and just a general sweetheart of a man. How you doing, buddy?
Well, now I feel bad that I was going to spend this whole time talking shit about you, but
I deserve it.
Not you threw the sweetheart of a man thing in. Now I feel like you've put me on the spot here. I am good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really great. Looking forward to next weekend. Other than that, where are you at right now? Are you traveling back home? Or are you
so I've actually I just got back home late last night.
Okay.
So I home now is Southern California. My wife is smart enough to have a real job. I came out here because that's how I get to go to the dentist. She gets health insurance. So I think that was a well thought out plan by me. I can do my nonsense from anywhere. So I was just in Indiana, which is probably where we met.
Yes.
At some point. I was in Indiana for a couple weeks. I did a couple small shows when I was there. It was more so that my 1-year-old son could spend a little time with Meemaw back there. And then we did a little road trip to New York as well. I had a gig in Bethel, New York at the site of Woodstock. It was not like Woodstock, but it was on the site of Woodstock. So we did a little road trip. So it's on the road there and get a couple days home, and then I'm back on the road again this weekend in New Mexico.
Very cool.
In Kansas City next week, which you alluded
to. Next, and I just saw you added Helium in Indy. And for those of you that don't know, Ryan is an Indiana comic, Indianapolis based. That's where you got your start, right? Was it Crackers or Morty's?
It's where I feel I technically started in LA.
Oh, okay.
My first home club, quote unquote, was the Ice House in Pasadena.
Oh.
When I graduated from college, not to brag, but I do have a degree. It's in theater, so I'm literally not trying to brag. It's not it's not a real thing.
My wife has an art history degree, so yeah, just equally useful.
It's the type of degree that is great if the job you're applying for literally just wants to know that you could finish something. Like that's sort of what the theater degree. I had a great time. I don't mean to talk shit out. This is a little side note. I don't mean to talk shit out because I loved my time at Indiana State. I met some of my best friends for life doing theater. But when it comes to getting into the job market, I got very lucky that my degree actually worked out for me. It's not always the case. When I graduated from school, this sounds dumb now, but literally at the time, because like some of these things in comedy, until someone tells you, you don't actually know how it works. I knew comedy happened everywhere, but I thought you had to start in LA or New York. Like I thought that's kind of where like, oh, that's where you train, like almost like it was boot camp, like if you join the Marine. Exactly. Like you join the Marines, you get sent to certain place, like that's where you go train. I thought comedy was kind of like that. Like, oh, if you want to do stand up, you go to LA or New York. And then once you get good or whatever, then you can then you get sent out, and you're lucky enough to do Owensboro, Kentucky. You know,
Oh shit, I'm getting deployed to Louisville. All right, cool.
I thought that's kind of what it was. But after a couple years there, then I moved back home to Indiana, and I feel that's where I actually became good at this.
Well, you are very good. To refresh your memory, we met our mutual friend, Mike Barnett. God rest his soul. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he saw you, I think, in Morty's, and this is close to 10 years ago, and he recommended you to the owner of the now defunct Laugh Comedy Club. And I think from what Mike had told me, that was your first headlining at a club, your first headlining gig for a weekend.
That might be right. Actually, it might be right now that I'm thinking about it.
It was the.
It's gonna suck. I don't remember, but I had headlined like one night kind of thing. Before, you know, like, and for anyone who's not like familiar with how like the road works, you know, like you headline a lot of shit early if you're lucky, you know, like, but it's like, you know, it's a you know, an O'Charlie's in a small town in Iowa, you know, like,
Yep.
Oh, I got to go into the small banquet room at an Applebee's, but I headlined that show. Damn it!
I did a private party for a Catholic school raffle, and it was a whole bunch of drunk Catholic school raffle. I got to headline that in Lima, Ohio.
Okay, yeah,
but it's a headlining gig. It's
but it's one of the things, especially when you're like early enough in your career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you kind of comedy show business is about stretching the truth a little bit. You know, I used to say that I got to open one of my credits was he's from Los Angeles. He opened for Robin Williams, which is true on a technicality. I got to do a show with Robin Williams when he just randomly showed up at the Hollywood Improv and did a set on a shitty bringer show that I was a part of. But what I'm saying is not technically a lie.
No,
I opened for Robin Williams.
I thought you were going to say it was a technicality. He was walking into a restaurant and you held the door.
Yeah, I held the door open. I used to say that. I remember having friends, you know, like use like, oh, you've seen him on NBC, and they literally got like a crowd shot in the audience at Conan.
There was,
you know, like that was them being on NBC. You know, like you do what you have to, because like it sounds dumb. And I'm saying this as someone who is a dumb redneck from Indiana. Okay, I'm not saying this as I'm better than. I'm a legit old trailer park kid. Like that's my roots. But like that when you're performing in a place like in the middle of Iowa, for instance, saying like, oh, he was on NBC, like that at least that's gonna buy you a couple minutes of attention usually.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to be funny. If you suck after that, they're going to turn on you anyway. But like, if they hear like, oh, this guy's from Los Angeles, okay, I'm going to listen for a couple minutes because that means he probably has some actual, you know, some talent. So you do the tricks you have to do to kind of get that stage time and make it work for you.
There was one comic. Oh God, I think Jerry Goebel who was telling me about it, and you know Goebel, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's another Indianapolis comic, but he said that there was the one guy that got arrested and he got drug out. And it was on all the news channels. And so his creds now were as seen on NBC, ABC, TBS.
Yep. Yeah. You do what you have to do. The amount of comics who would do like, you saw him on Last Comic Standing, and they'd be like in the loser reel.
Yeah.
or shown in the line, like when like they do a pan thing. Again, you're right on a technicality.
I could say I appeared on AGT too, because Shank, me, and Mike auditioned for it, and my foot goes across the screen. Yep. They did a pan shot, and my shoe comes down and lifts back up. So
yeah. Like I said, this business is all about technicalities.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I did. But speaking of AGT, because how the difference between how busy were you before AGT? How much were you working before AGT compared to after?
So I was definitely working more after AGT for sure, but I was technically paying my bills with comedy. Again, I'm using technically a lot on this. You know, I was able to pay my bills with comedy, but I was in a situation where, you know, say a couple bookings get canceled, a weekend, gets canceled for whatever reason, I might have been calling my brother to borrow rent money.
Okay.
I was kind of, so I was able to pay my bills, but just barely over it.
Just treading water.
Yeah, but I was working a lot, like I'm I take pride in that I was an old road dog, so I was, doing the 12-hour drives and sleeping in my car because couldn't afford a hotel to do these, $150 spots. And, so I was working a lot. And then once AGT happened and it really, the run went so well for me, I was working a lot more, but being compensated a lot more as well. So it was worth it from that regard. So, I think after AGT, now I was 2019 was my season. So I only got about 6 months of this run because a little something happened in March 2020 that made everything kind of slow down for everybody. But in that 6-month period from the end of the finals in September 2019 to when the world shut down, I think I was home a total of 7 days.
Really?
At my actual house. Because I was basically, I would be out on the road and I would do a run of 3 or 4 weeks, just depending on how things routed. And then I'd stop at home. I'd do laundry, hang out for a day or so, just whatever, just kind of I'm in between. I got to clean some stuff and I got to take care of this and that. And then, back out there doing it. I was busy, I was busy. I fortunately was able to do that long enough to pay off my debts. So
nice.
that's the, when people ask, did you do anything crazy when you started making a little money after AGT? I paid off my student loan and I paid off my car. It feels almost like I was prophetic a little bit, but I told people, I was like, because I've done comedy long enough, and you've probably done the same thing where you're doing these little gigs where it's like an Elks Lodge or something like that, and you're opening for a guy that was really big in the 80s. Someone is like, oh, he was on Carson 10 times or whatever it is. And now he's doing the Elks Lodge.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to shit on the gigs for what they are, because those shows can be fun, but that's not Carnegie Hall. No. It's a very different thing. So that kind of got in my head pretty early on that none of this is permanent. Not everybody continues to trend, upward to the sky. And I had said too, what I want to do is pay off my debts, because I don't know, this might not be something I get to do forever. And then the pandemic happened. So I'm glad I was at zero. So
and you were like, oh, I didn't think not forever was going to come so quick.
Yeah. I thought it wouldn't be in half a year, but here we are. At least I'm debt free.
Well, and here we are with Bryan as well, who it looks like you're driving.
I am right now, but I am very careful. Don't worry, I have a hands-free device. We're all good.
Okay, good.
Well, you ain't special. All my devices are hands-free. Am I right, folks? Going. We got. Hell yeah!
Oh shit!
Yeah.
All right.
Within 12 seconds of meeting you, I wanted to make you uncomfortable. That's what we're going for.
Shit. 13 minutes in.
You're good. Like I said, I've been a fan for quite a while. Of course, I was introduced to you, as Pat said, through AGT. And it's like, wow, he's really funny. So I started watching your stand-up on YouTube. Just a fan. And the funny thing is, so Pat and I actually met at a wrestling show, a local independent wrestling show. And we just we met through a mutual friend and saw each other at shows all the time and just became friends. And hey, we'll do a podcast together. Well, I happened to be about 2 years ago working. I worked in St. Louis for about 9 weeks out of the year, not consecutive, but 9 weeks, and it was in actually St. Charles, which is a lot nicer than St. Louis.
But everything's nicer than St. Louis.
So I was staying at the Drury Inn at the streets of St. Charles. Well, right there is the Funny Bone Comedy Club, and I'm sure you've been there.
Yep, been there a couple times. I like that club a lot.
Actually, I know you've been there because
spoiler alert.
So I get back, and there's a wrestling show a couple weeks later or whatever. I told Pat, hey, I was in St. Louis, and it's like I really kind of got bummed because I stayed there until Friday. Well, I could have seen a show on Thursday night, and Pat's like, really, who was playing there? And I was like, oh, it's Ryan Niemiller. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm friends with him. And it's like, I got kind of jealous. I'm like, man, my friend knows all these famous people. And,
you're welcome for the street cred, Patrick. In fairness, not to make you don't need to feel bad whatsoever, because the only reason that Patrick and I are friends is that I was not famous when I met him.
Yes.
So let's be honest. He's clearly below me now.
Very,
Yeah, but now we have 10 years in. I feel he's grandfathered in to still being my friend.
You got the money I Venmo'd you for doing the show, right?
Correct. Yes, I made sure that cleared first before I even click the link.
Hey, I panhandled a lot for that $5 now.
I have a 1-year-old son now. Every dollar helps, man. Diapers are expensive, so you got to pay me, but I am cheap. That's the way I look at it.
Hey, he's a year old already?
Yeah, 14 months.
Yeah, I remember when you were posting about becoming a dad. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like I'm in this really weird position, and I know I'm not the first person who's ever done this, but I don't think I'm old. Like I would never go and claim to somebody that 'cause I'm 42. I would not ever be like, oh, I'm so old and that's not old in the grand scheme of existence, but it is old to be a first-time dad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I've kind of come up with this theory now after doing this for 14 months. So clearly I'm an expert on parenthood. I have everything figured out clearly. But I think there's a sweet spot for what age you should be to have kids. Because I'm from a small town where a lot of my friends literally have kids in college now. Because they, have, oh, we just graduated high school. It's time to get a real job and start fucking.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. Yeah. They make and I look back to, even remembering, 18 to 25, that range is what I'm considering here. I remember physically, I felt great. I felt I was in pretty good shape. I had a lot of stamina to do stuff. I was doing wrestling training. I felt oh, physically, I can handle anything. But you're a fucking moron when you're that old. Mentally and emotionally, you don't know who you are. You think you have everything figured out. You don't know shit about shit. But physically, you can handle it. Now that I'm in my early 40s, I feel mentally, I've been to therapy. I've kind of got life figured out. I feel I know myself a whole lot better, where emotionally I can be a great dad. But my knees hurt, my back hurt, my hip hurt. I can't keep up with my son. I can't, he just learned to run in the last couple weeks. And I'm like, God damn it, stop it. Why couldn't you have been crippled too?
Oh shit.
I wouldn't have to be chasing you everywhere. So I think there's a sweet spot, maybe your late 20s, early 30s, where it's you're starting to figure out who you are as a person, but your body hasn't broken to shit yet. I think that's when people should have kids.
See, I had my oldest when I was 19. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I knew enough to know that I don't know shit, so I joined the army.
Fair.
They have insurance and housing but yeah, then and now she's married and I'm a grandpa now. I have 2 grandkids and I think Brian threw his phone or something.
That was odd. We were in his garbage can for a second there. That was nice.
But yeah, now what? I'm 48 now, and talking about getting older. I was joking with my wife and stuff because somebody said that we go to a lot of concert stuff, a lot of punk shows, a lot of metal shows, and somebody's like, "Oh, you won't get in the pits. You're too old to get in the pits." And I was like, "Fuck, I'm 40 years old. I'll still get in the pits with you. I'll still fuck you up." Difference is tomorrow you can go to work, whereas I'm gonna need 3-4 days going, oh shit, my back. Fuck.
For you to go in the pit, you have to request PTO after just to make sure you have time to recover. Yeah, I get it. It's the same way, man. Like in those moments, I feel like you guys talk wrestling shows. I still try to go to a lot of wrestling shows.
Nice.
And even if you're just watching wrestling, like those can be really long days, you know, like, and if you're up and cheering and yelling, like it sounds stupid, but that can be a little physical exerting if you're really getting into it. And yeah, I feel like I have to tell my wife sometimes, it's like, hey, I'm going to be pretty useless until about noon tomorrow. Why? I cheered a little bit.
Maybe it was a steel cage match. You don't understand.
I was very happy, and I said things loudly. So now I need to lay down.
The last time we went to an AEW show, I cheered so much I dislocated my jaw.
Attaboy.
That's like, oh, but yeah. Do you go to indie shows? You go to big shows?
So not. I don't go to as much stuff as I used to. You know, that's part of having a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
So I used to go to indie stuff a lot. So I assume anyone that listens to this knows that you guys are wrestling dorks too. So I can talk a little inside baseball, but so I used to go to PWG shows a lot when I first lived in LA, because through just random circumstances, I've been friends with the Young Bucks for years. So a friend of mine, when the first time I lived out in LA, so I'm talking like this is like 2009, you know, something like that. She happened to go to high school with Nick.
Oh, wow.
And he used to come to comedy shows that she would come to see me. And this was before they really blew up. I was a little familiar with them at the time, but this is like really early, you know, not too long after they're doing trampoline shit in their backyard in Hesperia.
I was going to say, that's before their TNA Generation Me stuff.
Yeah. Even before that, a couple years before that. So I met Nick through that. So I've known them for a long time. And then just through random stuff. When I was first out there, so when Rob Van Dam had got fired or left WWE for a little bit, when he got caught with pot and, you know, had to lose his titles and all that, and he was trying to do stand-up comedy for a little bit, I was involved in a couple of the projects he was doing. You know, so through doing that, I got to meet some of the PWG guys, because they would come out. So like Human Tornado, the deep cut there. He doesn't really wrestle that much anymore because he blew his knee out years ago, but you know, he was a part of it. So I used to go to those PWG shows a lot. You know, the ones back in why can't I think of it's the city they always make fun of for them doing it. I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me later. I have old man toddler brain right now. So I used to go to those a lot. So that kind of stuff, I just don't have the time or the enough goodwill with my wife where she'll let me go to those all the time, because it's a time commitment as well. You can, I mean, if watching wrestling, you could do that, you know, every single day for hours and never be caught up on all this stuff, let alone going to the shows. So now mostly what I do, I'll go to big WWE stuff. Like I'm excited that they're doing Royal Rumble in Indianapolis. I know, any excuse I get to go home and see my family, and that'll be cool to do that. So I go to big WWE stuff, and I'm fortunate enough, just through both the Bucks and through that I got to do the AGT stuff with Jericho, that I basically can go to any AEW show I want. So I go to a lot of those when they're close, if my schedule works out. So I'll go. Weirdly enough, AEW is not my favorite product, but all my buddies wrestle there. So it's like I have a good time hanging out with my friend. Like I still enjoy it. It's not like I hate it.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just so it's cool. I mean, wrestling's fun. Like I don't get all caught up in like the tribalism part of it, because at the end of the day, we're all fucking dorks. It's all stupid. So just have a good time. Like we're all on the same stupid team. Have fun.
Yeah. That's kind. I have to catch myself sometimes. I get a little caught up in it, and I'm like,
It's one thing to have spirited debates with your buddies. Like that's part of being in a nerddom.
Yeah.
But when you're making these like drawing the lines between like, you other dorks are different than my group of dorks, and we hate you. It's like, man, just it's all goofy and stupid. Just have fun. It's silly. It's entertaining. It's your hobby. Just enjoy your hobby.
Exactly. And luckily enough, I married a woman who, when we were dating, well, actually before that, when she was a kid, she watched wrestling.
Okay.
It was she got into it through WOW, Women of Wrestling, back in the 80s. And so she had liked wrestling, and then, like I always say, it took me a year to convince her that she wanted to go out with me, and then once we started dating,
call that the old wear 'em down method. I like that.
wear 'em down, and still have to do that once in a while, but
I get it.
So we had a group of friends that we'd watch wrestling with, and so now I actually work with a couple of independent promotions here, help them set up, help them tear down, whatever they need. Right now, I guess I'm the timekeeper extraordinaire.
Okay.
And so she'll bring one of her friends and take them to wrestling, and she's bringing other women into, hey, check this out. This is pretty awesome. And she's had a lot of fun with it too.
Yeah, I still love it. Like I don't get to watch the way I used to. I mean, that's part of having responsibilities. It sucks, but yeah, and it's also part of like I was saying a little bit before. Like wrestling is great, but to really follow everything, it kind of has to be your only hobby. It's hard to mix other stuff in and really be into, because like I'm a huge video game guy. I have a family. I love sports. Like I'm a huge, like when I'm in Kansas City, the reason I was able to get the Kansas City gig booked is that my father-in-law lives there. So my wife and I were trying to go to every baseball stadium. I want to watch a Cubs game in theory at every baseball stadium. My wife just wants to go to the stadium. She enjoys the ambiance of it. I'm particularly trying to watch Cubs, and just the way the schedule worked out, the Cubs are playing at the Royals next weekend. And we sort of floated that idea to my father-in-law, like, oh, it might be neat if we could, like, maybe this will work out. We'll see. The next day, he calls my wife and is like, hey, I bought tickets. So I was like,
guess we're going.
Fuck, all right. I guess we'll plan a trip out. Like, the boy needs to see Grandpa anyway, so I guess we'll make a trip. And then so we're going to the Saturday game. And I talked to Dustin, who's the owner of Comedy Club of Kansas City, and we just like, hey, do you have any for a one night? Can I do like either the Thursday or the Sunday? I'm like, yeah, come in the Sunday. So that's how I'm doing the Sunday.
Yeah, then I saw that, and I was supposed to guest with you last time you were here, and my wife got COVID. Yep. And so I see this, and I was like, hey, you coming back? Can I maybe get that guest spot?
I tell you what, if you or your wife gets COVID again, you're fucking done forever. You get two strikes with me. All right. That's what it is.
So your comedy show is going to be a week from this Sunday, correct?
Yep.
Correct. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Sunday the 28th. It's my daughter's birthday too. But yeah, Sunday the 28th at Comedy Club of Kansas City. Do you know who else is on the Do you know who else is on the lineup? Who's hosting or featuring?
Not a damn clue.
They're just setting all that up.
Yeah, just letting any old person on the show.
Honestly, because I mean, I've been doing mics here since I moved out here. I mean, I took a break during COVID, so a couple of year break and stuff. But there's some solid fucking talent. Coming up.
Yeah. I like performing in Kansas City. I always have fun there, and it's one of those things that like. I'm fortunate enough that I've gotten to the place in my career. And again, I'm not trying to claim I'm not Kevin Hart. I'm not doing that kind of work, but it's nice that I can do something like legitimately like, oh, we need to go see my father-in-law. Maybe I can get some work while we're going to be there anyway. Let's get something set up. Yeah, and then that actually happens.
Yeah. Either pay for the trip or offset the cost of the trip. Hey,
just be a fun little thing. Just dip my toes in. I hadn't been there about a year and a half. I think it was, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just nice to kind of get to do that. And my wife is demanding that at one point we take just a real vacation that isn't built around my work, which I think is fair. That's totally fair. But it's just so tempting to be like, hey, wait, I can basically pay for this trip. If you let me just work a night or two, I can, this will be fine. But she wants me fully focused, and I understand that. So we'll eventually do an actual vacation.
Oh, but yeah, it's actually been fun watching you grow. Yeah, I mean, you were already pretty high up when I met you. And I mean, you've been doing this for what, 15 years now?
It'll be 18 years in a couple months, actually.
18 years? Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, my comedy career can do porn here very soon.
I was going to say vote and buy cigarettes, but hey.
You know what? That's the trifecta. all of the porn will be voting and cigarette buying themed. That's what it's going to be.
But it's just been really cool because I mean, you know, I've been watching you. I watched your whole AGT run. It's really cool watching just your evolution and just how polished and just fucking goddamn good you are. You know, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I mean, you are. You know, if Niemiller comes anywhere near you, fucking go see him. He is just a fucking solid, funny ass comedian.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, it's one of those things too that when I got America's Got Talent, one of the things I was most proud about because of that is that no comics were mad that I got it.
Yeah,
like you know, like you know, you're still, you know, just based on circumstance or whatever, like, you know, you're not headlining the major clubs yet, but you've been doing this a long time. You know how this business works enough there that, like, man, motherfuckers are petty. You know, like it's really hard to, like, you know, even if you're not trying to intentionally be mean, you'll see somebody get like, oh, that guy got the Tonight Show, fuck him. I'm, you know, like, whatever it is, you know. And for the most part, you know, because you know, sometimes when the comics get AGT is not necessarily, they don't care about what dues you've paid in the business. They're just looking to put on a good show. And sometimes that's, oh, here's a comic who's a year and a half into comedy, but they had this one little clip do something. Fuck it, he can come on AGT. You know, whatever.
He'll get voted off in the first week or two.
yeah. But you know, I was a legit road dog. You know, when I got AGT, I was 12, 13 years in.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was doing all that. You know, I told the stories on AGT, but it was true. You know, like driving 12 hours to do a show, and then, oh, they don't have anywhere to stay. Well, I guess I'll sleep in my car when I start the drive back because I can't afford, they didn't pay me enough for a hotel, you know, so, and just doing that. And I think it was nice because I've always prided myself, and I'm not saying everybody likes me because that's just not how the world works. No one's universally liked, but I've made a big point to be easy to work with, being, you know, like, like if anyone wants to get into comedy or you're like earlier in your career, the biggest piece of advice they'll give you is like, you'll get funny eventually. That's just reps, you know, like, yeah, write, perform, all that bullshit. Yeah. Like everybody knows that, but like, be a good hang as well. Like, and that doesn't necessarily mean even like, you don't have to stay out until 3 a.m. and go drinking with everybody. I've never drank in my life. Chris Bowers, who I'm pretty sure you know,
know of him, never met him. But
so he was one of the owners of Morty's for years and all that. He used to, so he was, he's the guy who ran the party house. So with the couple owners of Morty's, he was the one that, like, okay, everyone after the shows, we go party at Bowers' house. That's what it was. He had the hot tub, he had all that. And he used to always jokingly call me like, you're the most boring comedian in this business. Because you come to the show, you crush a set, and then you hang out for a little bit, and then as soon as it's like, hey, we're gonna go party, you get the fuck out of there. And that's how I am. So, but you know, like, that's the easiest thing you can do is just be like nice and professional and easy to be around, and don't rock the boat when it's not necessary. You know, just like just be good to the staff. Like that was what I always prided myself on doing. And I was very proud of the fact that once I got on AGT, there wasn't anyone that was like, fuck that guy.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, it was all just like, you know, that guy, he's one of us. He's a legit road dog who has busted his ass and got this opportunity.
That's how it was in the South Bend area when yeah, because that's where I was from, and we were all like, holy shit, Niemiller's on. Are you? Well, if anybody deserves it, and you know, and that was one of the, if anybody deserves it, it's him. And yeah, that was just one of the themes that went through when you got it. And I mean, I've never, it's funny because this next weekend will be the first time I've ever worked with you, but because when we ran the club, the short-lived club in South Bend, you came out for that, but I was just hanging out that night. When you headlined Laugh, I was just hanging out that night. So I've never had a chance to work with you, so it'll be fun to actually work with you. But I've seen you work plenty of times and stuff. That, yeah, you are one of the easy. and it's a lot of indie comics are just so fucking easy to work with. I don't know what it is about it, but I don't know if it's that Midwestern mentality. But like, yeah, there was you, McComas, Matt Holt. There was a whole bunch of you that it was just like, you're gonna get a good show and just fucking chill people.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I think also a big reason why it works so well for me, and everyone has their own versions of how they do this, but like, I think why I've been able to kind of have that work for me is that I've never had any real desire or need to feel like I had to undercut or backstab anybody in the business, because like I love comedy, but I don't need it. I think what happens in, and I would say it's somewhere in like wrestling, like that type of stuff too, that like some people, being a comedian's their lifelong dream and they've busted everything into it and they're so passionate about it. And I think that's great. Legitimately, I think that's fantastic. But I think that leads them to like, oh, well, I can fuck over Patrick because like I need this. For me, man, like I love it. I don't want to ever quit. I will do shows as long as I keep getting hired. But let's say that the show in Kansas City, if that ends up being my last show ever, I'm good. I break it down this way, and I've had to add a new thing in the last year. But at the end of the day, my mom loves me, my wife loves me, my son loves me, and my dog loves me.
What else you need?
Everything else is fucking bonus.
Yep.
So that helps me just enjoy what I'm doing. And like, just, it's still a job. It's like any job. There's some bullshit and stress and, whatever. That's just how life works. But at the end of the day, if this becomes more stressful than fun, I can just I'll do something else, because I love it, but I don't need it that way.
Go ahead, Brian.
One more time. You didn't come through. You're cutting out a little bit.
But you can go into professional gaming, though, right?
Potentially. Like I've invested enough money, and I need to fucking make some money back on it. Jesus Christ. So yeah, I'm a huge video game collector. So that's the vice that I got into. So some people go to strip clubs and that kind of stuff. I buy video games on the road. So I think my collection, I'm up to like 3,500 physical games.
Jesus.
Add about another 40,000 digitally. You can't see it in here, but like these walls are covered here. One of our closets downstairs is completely full. I have totes of shit in the garage. I'm trying to figure out where they can go. I have a little bit of a problem.
I wouldn't say it's that big of a problem. My cousin, her husband, used to work for EV Games, which is now GameStop. And he has, and I am not even kidding, every video game system that has come out, from Pong to PlayStation 5. He's got everything in their basement. They've got, this TV has to be at least 84, 85 inches. It's just there for gaming. And he's got a ton of games.
Well, and speaking of collectibles, if you look right behind Brian,
I was gonna say, you got the Hot Wheels going on behind him there.
I have quite a few.
He actually Brian actually customizes Hot Wheels too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I do customs. I do some regular ones, but I'm going to show you the first ever one I did, and so. I don't know. Are you familiar with the buying app Whatnot?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how highly addictive that is.
Correct. Which is why I never get on it. I know who I am as a person.
The diecast community is very cool there, and you can just go in there and talk to people, and they're more than happy just talking to you because they sell a lot of stuff to other people. Well, I've become friends with some people, and like everybody started. Couple of guys were doing customs. They're like, those customs are cool, but there's no niche. There's no they're all like, I couldn't tell who's apart most of the time. I wanted to be different. So I decided to do some inappropriate customs.
Okay.
And so my first one.
It needs to focus there.
Pull it back a little bit, Brian.
Yeah, pull out. Oh,
If
it's
you
a
get-
Dirty Sanchez.
Yep, yeah.
All right. There it is.
I was gonna say, if you can read the first word or the second word,
Yeah.
you'll be able to
Yeah,
extrapolate.
it connects. My brain filled in the blanks there.
I've recently started customizing Hot Wheels, and like I said, not all of them are like that. And I did put that on my. I think I did a little video and put that on my. Everybody that sees them. So I've gotten. Yeah, I made 4 of them. I'm keeping 1. I've sold 2 on Whatnot. So this, with the paint and everything, I think I may have spent like $5 on each paint can. Another friend of mine just happened to send me the water slide stickers to put on them. And so for like $10 plus the dollar for the car, right? I sold 1 for $27 and 1 for $22. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'll make a little bit of money on that. So
yeah, I've been so I have a collector's mentality just by nature. Like that's just who I think it comes from like growing up dirt poor in a trailer. So you now I covet things. Like I'm not a hoarder because I'm not leaving cat skeletons in the house. But
Yeah.
yeah. Until I want to collect the full set of cat skeletons. That's but
This is a tabby.
but like I love collecting and I love like finishing lists. So like for a lot of my video game collecting, I'm trying to get like an entire N64 collection, an entire not just the games I want. I'm trying to fill that list. And now that I have a son, one of the cool things is I can now start buying things that are quote unquote for him. So it scratches that. Like I'm going to let him play with them. Like I'm not like I'm not going to have a special room he can't go in. Like I think that shit's weird. But right now, one of the things I've been doing is like almost every time we go out to like Walmart or Target or whatever, I will grab a Hot Wheels car that I see. I'm just like, oh, it's for Owen. It's for him. So I'm scratching that itch for me where it's like, oh, I got to buy a thing. I got to get a new thing. And I'm kind of just putting together this tub right now for him so that when he's old enough, he'll have a lot of stuff to play with. So having a kid's cool if you're a fucking dork. I'll tell you that much.
Just waiting years from now when you're like, no, this Hot Wheel is for Owen. And Owen's like, Dad, I'm fucking 17. Shut up and play with your goddamn Hot Wheels.
Yeah, he's gonna be in his 40s. I'm like 85, and I'm like, hey, I got you another. I'll just hold this at my house for you, buddy.
Here's another Thomas the Tank. And what the fuck?
But when my wife first found out she was pregnant with our son, we went to Target and we were just walking around and I want to get him a Hot Wheels. So I bought him one. And no, I did not play with it. As soon as he was old enough, he got it. And I don't think he still has it, but it's just one of those things where you can buy cool stuff.
Actually, the Hot Wheels is the cool toy because I used to buy them with my son. I wasn't dirt poor, but we weren't, we were like lower middle class, so, but they had the 5-pack for $5. So it's like, yeah, you get 5 cars for, do that like once or twice a month and stuff. And he was in hog heaven. Then he got into Thomas the Tank Engine. Shit, those things were like $3-4 a piece. I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah. That's the trick is I have to somehow get him into cheap shit.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can still have a lot of things.
It's
because that's the problem I have. Like, I'm fortunate enough that like I can afford it to an extent. I still spend too much money on it, but like video game collecting ain't cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like brand new games are $60-$70. Some of the old more collectible stuff can be in the few $100s. Like it adds up. So I want my son. I've gotten into GI Joe collecting again too. Because that was my toy growing up.
That was mine too.
So I'm getting the old stuff, and they have you can see probably some of them back here. I'll move I have to figure out where this shit's gonna go.
Okay,
the classified series that's out, and they're cool, but retail those all start at $25 a piece at least, and it's just like, god damn.
Now, okay, who's your favorite GI Joe growing up?
I always had this problem, like I'm saying problem in quotation marks, but I had this problem with wrestling too, that I never liked the popular, whatever the most popular thing is. Like I like during the Attitude Era, for instance, you know, I obviously liked Steve Austin. I liked The Rock, but my favorite wrestler during that time was Hardcore Holly.
I loved Hardcore.
Yeah.
I loved him. He was great. Yeah.
For no fucking like I enjoyed him, but like my brain always like I love mid Carters. So I was kind of that way with GI.
Kane was my guy in the Attitude Era.
Who?
Kane.
Oh, okay.
You know, oh shit.
Yeah.
He was on top, but he wasn't like top tier. But yeah, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I always love that kind of stuff. So for me, GI Joe wise, I'm gonna cheat a little bit, but I always loved the Vipers. So
okay.
The Cobra side would always have a variety of their, you know, there'd be Heat Viper, Rage Viper. I always loved those. Like finding the different ones. Basically, like, you know, they're army building grunts, you know, but they have different powers or whatever. But I like, man, fuck Duke. I don't want to fuck Flint, you know, like who gives a shit about them, you know, like I like the more obscure, like weird ones.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know I loved Barbecue. And then for the Cobra side was Firefly.
Oh yeah, Firefly's dope.
Because once I learned what to say, I remember getting the package. I just saw a dude who looked like Storm Shadow in camouflage in gray and so I got him. And then I'm trying to read the back. I'm like Saboteur. My dad's like Saboteur. What's that? And he tells me what it is. I was like, oh shit, Saboteur. That's a fucking awesome job.
Also an awesome video game.
And oh yeah, very underrated. But who I forget his name, but he had the red goggles, he had the little beanie hat on, and he had the rifle with the giant night scope. I don't know why he was my favorite, and I can't remember his name. Nightlight, something like that. I don't know, but
Low Light, maybe.
Low Light, yeah, something like that. He's all gray, blonde hair, red glasses, and like a little black beanie. But he had this like giant scope on his sniper rifle that never killed anybody. You know,
sure, yeah. I always thought it was fun how elaborate the weapon sets were in the vehicles, and no one ever died.
Nobody.
Like no one's getting. Yeah, just the worst. It's like when like small town USA cities, you know, that have no crime and like 3,000 people for whatever reason have a fucking tank. You know, I think that's kind of what GI Joe is a little bit. They just have, we got all this money. You guys want to buy a aircraft carrier that turns into a robot? Sure, whatever.
Fuck it, why not? Why not? We'll make toys out of it to offset the cost.
I do have a question about your video games.
Sure.
You play a lot. I used to play quite a bit. What's your all-time on a game system? What is your favorite?
My all-time favorite game. So I couldn't tell you what my second favorite or third favorite or like I would be hard to like answer a top 10. But my all-time favorite game is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo.
Nerd.
Yeah, right.
Mine's a little more recent, and I like Halo 2.
Halo 2 is good.
I think at that point, if you want to keep feeling old, though, that's not that recent.
No.
It was like 2004, 2005. It's been almost 20 years, bro.
2004. But a friend of mine got me on Xbox, and then I was working at Blockbuster at the time. So what we would do is games back then would come with these little cards that had free 2 months of online trial. So he and I, as soon as we were putting games up, our boss didn't care. He's like, have at it, boys. We'd come through. Oh,
shit. So you were able to get all...
No, the problem was you couldn't add 2 months on to 2 months. So we'd have to create a new account every time. So after about the second one, we just kept those accounts, and then our friends who were really good at the game, we would give them the cards. But yeah, I had so much fun playing that with the online and the story. I think I like quite a bit.
Yeah, weirdly enough, because I need to get a disc for this. It's just an empty case that I need to find. But I have just the first Halo case sitting right next to me on here. This was our game in college. So our apartment was the LAN party apartment for Halo.
Oh God.
So all our buddies would bring, you know, we had ours set up, and like And this was still like, again, not that old, but like we're like of the age where it kind of bridges the gap between like modern technology and that. So this was still, you know, those big ass tube CRTs. So our friends would haul over 3 of their CRTs, and we'd hook up all the fucking cables throughout the apartment, and we'd have 16 people going doing the matches, and it was fucking great.
Oh, I bet that smelled wonderful.
Oh god, it smelled like Theater Nerd and
boxes everywhere, Pepsi cans thrown about.
Just the
but yeah. When I was in the Army, it was GoldenEye, because I'm like 6-7 years older than you, so yeah, it was GoldenEye and Mario Kart were the two that it was N64, so we had 4 controllers and stuff, and just, you know, and we would rotate people out. But when I was in Iraq, it was PS2 and still the Xbox, the original one. There was a bunch of guys that had their Xboxes in, and they were able to set up a wireless network just in our barracks in Iraq. So like 4 guys could play online together in just as a dedicated server, basically. I had some supercharged nerd that in my unit that was able to set it up, because we had satellite internet, but he was able to set it up for just the 4 of them. And so they were able to play online on Xbox. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool.
I was like, the problem was it did occasionally shoot off Patriot missiles.
Yeah.
it did interfere with that. So a small price to pay for freedom to game. All right.
Yes. Oh shit! And then the Patriot missiles would teabag the
before it actually exploded or anything.
Now I told you when we were setting all this up, we did have a couple of standard questions, and you know we're kind of winding down. You know, I only want to keep you about an hour. I know you got a lot of stuff to do. Then the one standard question that we like to ask, because Brian and I are both food people. Where is a place that you like to go because you look forward to either the food or a certain restaurant or something like that?
This is probably I'll say food wise, like eating there is not amazing. But so my favorite food of all time is buffalo wings. Like I'm a wing guy. And just standard buffalo, like don't get your fucking garlic parmesan out of my goddamn face. Don't waste with your Asian zing. All right, shut up. It's straight up buffalo. That's what I like with it. And there's a place out here. It's a little chain. It's I think technically called Epic Wings now, but it's more colloquially around here known as Wings and Things, because that's what it was for years, and then it kind of like got bought out and rebranded. The way that people still call X Twitter. Yeah. And it's always going to be Twitter. That's kind of what this place is. It's always going to be Wings and Things.
Tower.
Yeah. And they're the best wings. Like I said, it's a little bit of a chain. It's like a Southern California, kind of San Diego, maybe, I don't know, 11, 12 spots, something like that. So nothing crazy big, but just fucking phenomenal. But I'm also, I do want to kind of set the bar exactly where it needs to be. I do also love Buffalo Wild Wings, so I might not be the biggest connoisseur of stuff.
Fuck it, you like what you like. I mean, they must be doing something right if they got that many. Okay.
Yeah. Well, B-Dubs was our wing hangout spot in college too. Okay. So I have a little bit of a nostalgic pull to it as well.
You got to be on the budget in college, and B-Dubs is always there.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, there's something to be said. I'm not going to say like these type of restaurants are always like the most fantastic food you'll ever have, but when you're a road dog, every B-Dubs is going to be essentially the fucking same. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it's just nice to be like, I'm hungry. I don't want to take a risk on something right now. You know, an Applebee's in Kansas City is the same as an Applebee's in Topeka, Kansas. Is the same as an Applebee's in Albany, New York. Like you know what to expect. And again, you could probably find better food somewhere else, sure, but sometimes you just need to. I'm giving money. I know I'm gonna like this because it's exactly the same wherever. That's kind of how B-dubs is for me.
Gotcha. They smart, very smart thinking. Now,
Well, I always tell my wife this because she gets like not upset, but I'm not. It's hard for me to be risky at restaurants because it's another byproduct of growing up poor. Like if I'm going to spend $15 for a meal, like my brain still says that's a lot of fucking money.
yeah.
So I need to guarantee I'm going to like this. I can't try a new thing. Now, if you buy me a food or it's just like, oh, we're having a party, here's this available. Yeah, I'll try fucking anything. But when it's my money, I feel like, okay, I gotta get the sure thing because I don't want to waste my $20. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, see, I think that's right. Yeah, Brian and I were just like, yeah, oh, fucking, baby goat in squid ink. Sure, why not? If you say it's good.
Tastes like chicken.
Stinky chicken.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah. So yeah, we're gonna wind this down. But before we do a thing every time we have a show. We come up with a couple of songs to put on our Two Old Goats playlist, which is on Spotify. You can search it. I actually listened to it the other day. It is the most bizarre playlist.
I was gonna say, if you're just letting people bring in their own shit.
Yep. So, I messaged you. It's just like, hey, think of a song that you want to add to the playlist, and then Brian and we add a song each time. So, you want to go first, Ryan?
No, I'm gonna let you guys go first. I want to kind of see what I'm competing against here.
Okay, I'll go first since I'm going to see The Offspring on Monday in Wichita, so I'm going to add "Self-Esteem" by The Offspring, one of their big hits. And there we go. And
I also feel I should have done a little research. I should have pulled up your playlist.
I could pull it up for you so you can see.
Just so I know, like, because I don't want to have duplicate. You can't have duplicates on the playlist. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, I doubt you would.
Doubtful.
Let's see. Yeah, so let's see. We got Pluto by Two Skinny Jays, Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols, Medicine by the Champagne, Neighbor by Ugly Kid Joe, Pressure Point by the Zootons, Hold On, I'm Coming, Sam and Dave, Guerrilla Radio, Rage Against the Machine, Waiting Room Fugazi, My Girlfriend's Dead, The Vandals, Have You Ever, Urban Heat, Cult of Personality, Living Color. You could kind of see where it's going, and there's a whole lot of, yeah.
Okay. Brian, you go ahead. I'm gonna make sure you didn't take mine.
So Pat said he's going to see someone. We actually saw at one of the festivals around here one night, the Phil Collins Experience, which is a tribute band, obviously. Lead singer's from England. Looks like him, sounds like him, just phenomenal job. So I'm going to go with I Don't Care Anymore by Phil
good
Collins.
One.
Okay.
And I swear to you, I have heard a Phil Collins song on the radio every day since then. I don't know if it's a sign, but so I kind of have to. I'm going to go that way.
All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do, there's a little recency bias, and I'm sure you guys are both fathers yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes music is very helpful with temporary child care.
Very much so.
To get a child to shut up. And my wife and I, we discovered a song over this last week or so because we took a 5-day road trip from Indianapolis, Indiana to Bethel, New York, home of Woodstock, where that took place. So I was actually doing comedy at a music festival there. It was very fun. But we found out that my son is a big fan of, I think it's pronounced Chapel Roan, a brand. She is a,
okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to add the song Pink Pony Club because my son likes it. So it's called Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan.
This playlist was awesome.
Yeah, I
All
was gonna
right.
say, yeah, and I also want something that's gonna be a little bit different. I know, like I said, just met you, buddy, but I know that Patrick is a bit of an old metalhead, so I want something that's a little bit that's not gonna be that on there.
Yep, this summer is the summer of punk, where you got Green Day and Rancid and Buzzcocks and Descendants, Bad Religion. Oh, it's gonna be a fun summer. Yeah. Can't wait. How was that music festival? How was that performed? Because I know the audiences are so different.
It actually was pretty fun. So for this one, I'll do the too long didn't read version of the story. So I was doing a performance. So there's a music label. It's called I think it's called David's Music Festival. That's what it's called, David's Music Festival. So it's this music label that was created exclusively for musicians and artists with disabilities.
Oh,
So
cool.
like that's kind of the whole point. And they were doing this kind of music festival to showcase a lot of those acts. And they tied it into so he didn't actually perform as a part of the festival itself, but he was on the grounds, like they have other venues there. So this was kind of tied in loosely that way, where kind of like the main act of this festival was Jason Mraz.
Okay.
So but all the other artists were it's like my buddy George, who I met. He is a fantastic singer and guitar player who has no arms, so he plays with his feet. So it's a lot of acts like that. He's fantastic. Let me see if I can find his name real fast, because I do want to give him a shout out, because he was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was I think it's George Dennehy. Yeah, George Dennehy. Look him up. He's very, very good. So it was a lot of acts like that. There was some singers with autism, all that kind of stuff. They contacted me to do comedy during this. And for anyone who may not know, generally speaking, unless you're like someone whose comedy personality is, heavy metal, like Jim Brewer opens for Metallica because he's kind of that person, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare because the type of audiences are different. So I don't care who the music artist is. It's encouraged for people to sing and dance and yell and, whatever. Whereas in comedy, you have to shut the fuck up so I can tell my jokes. So it's like weird, especially because you're in the middle. And this, it was not the type of music that would get people that crazy for this particular festival, which was nice. But, when you're like in the middle or the intermission where it's like, okay, you just got to hear music and sing your heart out for an hour. Now shut up while Ryan does 20 minutes of jokes.
Hey, guys.
It's always a nightmare. It is
Yeah.
horrible. This was actually a lot of fun, though. This was a lot of fun. It went, again, I'm not going to say the set was, something I'd put in the annals of my top greatest shows I've ever done, but it was a lot of fun. They were a very receptive audience. I met a lot of cool people. So would do again.
Very cool. Very cool. And so you got that. You got New Mexico this weekend?
Correct. Yeah, the 19th and 20th at in just outside of Albuquerque.
Yeah.
So it's Santa Ana Pueblo. It's at the
Star
Star River Casino is what it's called.
Very cool.
It's called Cazadas. Cazadas
Casino
Comedy.
show,
I guess
dude.
it's the one of the actors from Breaking Bad, I guess, bought like the open a comedy club there in the
All right.
in the casino. So
very cool. And then after that, it's Kansas City the next weekend. Then what you got after that?
Yeah, Kansas City that week. Then after that, the 3rd and 4th of August, I'm in Peoria, Illinois at the Jukebox.
Oh, yeah.
I've been working them forever. I love that place. Then you mentioned a little bit earlier, August 9th at for one night only. It's just that Friday night, 2 shows at Indianapolis Helium Comedy Club. Then in the rest of August, I got a little run in Florida. So I'm doing the 22nd through the 25th. I'm doing Naples, Florida. I'm doing Daytona Beach. I am doing Orlando, and then doing Boca Raton. Then I got Phoenix in September, Springfield, Illinois, and I've got a lot of stuff that I'm kind of adding. You can find all that. CrippleThreat.com has my full calendar, and then all my social media stuff is Cripple Threat 8, because there was 7 before me, but I've risen to power.
You're hitting all of the hot states right in the middle of summer.
It's very true. It's you can't be choosy when you're trying to do it, but like, and then I'll tell you like what I usually do in like January, February, when it's like That's when I do Minneapolis. That's when I do like Syracuse, New York, like all that shit. Yeah, you go where they're gonna pay you, but man, it's miserable.
But
Like
that's
I was in Phoenix last September for work, and I was there for 8 days or 7 days, and I would walk out of my hotel room at 11 o'clock at night to go down to the Quick Trip to get a drink, and it's 95 degrees.
mm-hmm.
Man, this is and anybody who tells you that it's not the heat, it's the humidity.
The heat took him out there for a second.
He just got canceled.
Yeah, Big Brother's watching me. And
yeah, like to your point there, because like I travel all over the country. I've performed in any climate you can think of. I do think there is some truth to, it's a dry heat. There is some truth to that, but there's a limit to what that means.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if there's no humidity if it's 118 degrees outside. It's the same way of like oh, it's cold is different. 0 is cold, but when you add wind and shit and it feels like -20, -20 is different than 0. And therefore it's different. Like the coldest I've ever performed in, I was in Syracuse, New York a few years ago, and huge storm hit. With wind chill, it was -45 degrees. And I grew up near Lake Michigan. I am familiar with like snow and cold. I've been in cold, but like, man, I had to walk 10 feet from where I got dropped off to get into the venue. I felt my eyeballs freezing, like physically. There's levels to this shit. All right. It's not just hot. There's hot, and there's not just cold. There's fucking cold.
Yeah. And then, I'm used to, when it's 100 degrees outside in Kansas, I walk out the door and it feels like I'm walking through like soup.
Oh God, yeah.
When I was in Phoenix, I got out the door and I was walking. I was like, hey, I don't feel that. The sun.
Fucking every time he talks shit on Phoenix, he freezes up, man.
Mother Nature doesn't.
Well, I just want to anyone that might go to my shows September 12th at the Desert Ridge Improv in Phoenix. I am not that close with him. All right. So, all right. Like, I don't want to be guilty by association.
Hey, I'm not saying anything bad about it, because trust me, I'd rather have that dry heat where I can walk 30 feet and not feel like I just got out of a pool.
Yeah. Indiana, like, it's not that bad. It's got humidity though. But like, I just would remember that. And I lived in Pensacola, Florida for about a year and a half a while ago as well. And like, there's just something to be said about like, you take a shower and then you get out and you need to take another shower. Like, yeah, how do people just live there all the time?
I lived in Southern Georgia for 2.5 years when I was stationed there. Real quick anecdote about heat and humidity, though. When I was stationed in Iraq, we're talking like 120, 125 degrees. I was in southern Iraq at Camp Buka. You could actually see the ocean or the bay or whatever it was from where we were. I mean, it's miles away, but it was just straight desert. So, you could see forever. So wind is coming in, and it's coming in off the water one day, and 120 something like that, getting a nice humid breeze. It was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. Oh, this is great. And then the breeze stopped, but the humidity was still there. Let me tell you something, 125 degrees with 90% humidity. Oh my God. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's.
I was sat down and I literally had sweat pouring off me so much that I had a shoulder holster for my pistol, and I actually stained the shoulder holster because sweat was just running down it so much. So, yeah.
Yeah, hard pass.
No. Fuck.
That's why I'm a dainty California boy now. I'm gonna eat my avocado toast and just not deal with it.
Drive your hybrid around and. Yep. All right. So yeah, Cripple Threat 8 on all the socials. Cripplethreat.com. That's your website.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Yeah, you got all the dates coming up for that. We are so high budget here that basically what we do is we just leave the stream. So when we wrap the show up, that's how we do it. We just shut our cameras off and walk away.
Okay, good.
But yeah,
because I got foods to eat.
yeah. Ryan, go ahead.
We have all of our producers edit all that to a clean,
for our live show.
But yeah, I'm about to get off here and go online and buy tickets to the comedy club for a week from Sunday.
Hell yeah.
There's
going to be at least one person there. That's what I'm talking about.
I got to put up a flyer at work.
Two. Hell yeah.
And my wife will be there too. So I'm going to put up a flyer at work. I got to make that up. I got a bunch of people stoked about coming. They're like, we want to see you do stand up. And I'm like, this will get you to come out and see other people. Fine.
Yeah, whatever it takes, man. Diapers are expensive. I need
this weekend in New Mexico, next weekend, Comedy Club of Kansas City. If you want to see your boy Pat do a few minutes and act a fool, come on out. I'll have some fun, but you're going to have a great time at Ryan. And then other than that, guys, thanks for coming out. Ryan, always great to see you, my friend. See you.
Not too long.
Yeah, and we'll all have some fun. So yeah, this is the moment where it gets awkward and we all just turn our cameras off and walk away. Peace.
All right. Well, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.